For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated. More often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.
Is it? So it's just Boldo you can't hear. You can hear me? Because I can't hear Boldo either. Get in the comments if you can't hear Boldo, because I thought it was my fault. Ashley Williams saying no audio, so good job. Can we hear Franco? Anyone out there? I get it. You can't hear Boldo. Can you hear me? All right, gang. Whew. All right, I'm in. We can hear Franco. Good. All right. Geez, this is the problem when Boldo goes live before I'm here with you all, huh? Jeez. Jumps the gun. He's a bit quick, old Boldo. 26-6, Sharkies go down to the Panthers to Bathurst. It's not what we wanted to hear.
Yo.
Not what we wanted to see. You're back, Boldo.
You got me now, Franco.
Gotcha now, mate.
There we go. Sorry about that, guys. I just wanted to get live because I just want to get this show over and done with, Franco.
It wasn't
My
great,
intro
was
was
it,
really
mate?
good too.
I bet it was.
Really good.
I bet it was one of the best.
It was all about us missing quality. And yeah, well, we just don't seem to have it. So what can you say? We'll get into that. That was a very amusing start of this podcast. I don't know how I'm going to do it with the audio, Franco, or whether I'm just going to cut that off. But thanks for joining us in the comments. And thanks to Ashley Williams and Wad Wall saying no audio, no sound, Boldo, you dumbass. Well, just like the Sharks, we just didn't put it together, did we, Franco? I'm just going to start this. The Sharks can't win these big matches if they don't get the ref calls. And I tell you what, Klein, there's just an air of shroud of just awfulness that surrounds him with us, Franco. You got to admit, it's not great.
Oh, I mean, there's definitely in amongst the fans of the Sharks, we're not really happy whenever we see his name pop up. But honestly, I don't think we can blame him tonight. I don't think we can sort of talk about rubber the green after that effort. There was a lot on us.
But Franco, the margins in these matches are so fine. And
yeah,
once the Panthers kick away from you, you're just not catching them because they strangle you.
74% completion rate. We were dropping the ball everywhere. Our attack looked awful. There was a lot more wrong than worrying about the ref. Look, there were a couple of dodgy calls I felt, but you know what? There was a couple both ways as well. And I'm sure we will touch on some of the ones that I blew up at the screen. I blew up at the screen at when I saw it, and I was like, this is ridiculous. But also, I mean, like Burns in the contest of that ball, he should have gone to ground. He shouldn't have tried to get over the try line, because that gave Klein that opportunity to go up to the bunker and review that contest. If he just dies with the ball, we've got 6 again on their try line, and who knows where that game goes, right? So it's just dumb Sharks being dumb. You cannot get on board blaming the ref. There, like I said, there'll be some calls I might want to argue and say that was ridiculous, but no, I'm not calling the loss on the ref.
How's the Ramian one where he's said to have tackled Jenkins? He didn't touch it.
Oh no. By the letter of the law, they bumped.
Nah, that's one of those. That's tough, Franco.
Yeah, but again, I feel as though you don't put yourself in those positions, you don't get those calls. Ramian should be smarter. We know Ramian isn't the brightest spark on
Oh,
the football
Ramian had a
field, right?
shocker tonight, Franco.
So yeah, look, I was upset at that call, but at the same time, if they want to go that way, they can go that way. So you just got to not give them that opportunity. And that wasn't a scoring play off the back of that, right? They had another set of 6 that we had the opportunity to defend. So we should have defended that and we didn't. So look, it very much showed up Sharkies of old, which we discussed on the pre-game episode on Tuesday, error or penalty leading to a try, and that's what happened tonight. And we've just got to get better. We did defend
that a couple
pretty
times,
well.
didn't we?
We did, yeah. We did defend pretty well, but again, a team like the Panthers, you give them that opportunity, you give them in good field position through error, through penalty, and they're going to capitalize on that, and that's what happened tonight.
All right, let's go through some of these comments. Yeah, goodness me. The Sharks, they also just don't deal with the adversity, do they? So Gigaplex was first out in the comments saying it's going to be another season of not getting it done against Penrith and Melbourne. The current roster can't get over the hurdle unless either of those teams have injuries to multiple key players. That's probably fair, Gigaplex. I'll skip all the ones saying no audio. And then let's get down to Shauno says, silly penalties and errors killed us and any momentum we had. Peru looked red hot coming on and shifted the game in our favour. Other than his knock on, I'll take him over ULA. Let's talk about that decision to put Peru. At least I didn't mind he was trying something and doing something a little different. It was a shame for Peru that he dropped the ball. Bit of inexperience and just looking up the line as he was wanting to have a bit of momentum. I thought he actually made a good account of himself, Franco.
Yeah, look, there was enough dropped ball in that match. I don't think we can point out Peru for that drop. He was looking to try and spark something, quick play of the ball. The Panthers were always in our face and he was trying to get rid of the ball quickly. It happens. That said, I agree. He did spark something. He did look energetic. He looked to try and change direction of the ball. He was quick on his feet. He promoted himself, promoted the attacking line. I think that it was a little bit interesting a bit later on when Colquhoun came on. It was difficult to work out who was playing where. I think Colquhoun might have been playing prop for a little bit while Peru was still on the field.
Yeah.
And that worked well as well, right? I think that's sort of, there is a bit of ball playing with Colquhoun, but I think this sort of goes back to that discussion we had last year about, different types of locks and the way the game is changing. There's a lot of small, nimble locks out there who are ball players, and we've still kind of got that extra prop in terms of, Paul Gallen-esque big hit-ups with a bit of an offload. It'd be nice to see a little bit more creativity there in lock. Obviously, we've got Colquhoun locked down for a long time, so whether his future is at lock or maybe he shifts to the front row, time will tell. He does have a passing game. We've seen it. He did it tonight. It's just, what kind of passing game are we looking for? Are we looking for that sort of creativity, that player who will try something unique, or just someone who will shuffle the ball outside? So, yeah, something interesting. Peru definitely added a bit of speed as well, which was nice to see because we looked pretty slow after that first 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, let's keep going through these comments. I have a feeling Jesse Ramian's going to cop a fair bit of stick. So we've got Shake20 saying bye-bye Ramian. We've also got Ryan James saying Ramian almost gets penalised every kick because he's clearly running an escort. He doesn't even have the smarts to try and hide it. He looks behind him at the runners. He's thicker than Pomeroy. And then Ryan backs it up with he played well against reserve grade Titans. That's probably true.
Ramian started off well.
No, he was
very early on.
Chocker.
Because
he didn't have a good game. No, he didn't start off well, Franco. That before the Panthers scored, he had a chance for an offload to set up that try, and he got caught with it a little bit and didn't set it up. You knew he was having a bad game. I'm just
But
looking at
he's
my
never
notes.
got he's never had a pass. He's never had a pass. We know that.
First
So
attacking set,
that's
he has an opening upload that he bungles it. He misses a tackle for that early Panthers break when they bottled the try. He had the BS bloody catch. So if you don't believe that Klein's rubbish, then you just say that Ramian's an idiot for tackling the guy without the ball. He had the unforced play the ball error. He's not going to have a knock. He was lucky not to have a knock on into Penrith at the end, and he can't catch a ball off a freaking dropout.
Yeah.
Like,
so,
come on, Franco.
But you're talking about the holistic game. I'm not arguing about that. I think, yes, he had a terrible game. What I mean is, because I was watching in the first 5 minutes, it's like, all right, he's on here, he's trying hard, he's up and energetic, and then it just turned back into the old Ramian, and I was like, oh dear, here we go.
That's what Tomo's
exactly.
certainly saying in the comments. Welcome
Tomo,
back to the
says,
real Ramian.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness me.
I mean,
get it in the comments, guys.
Let's jump ahead here a little bit. Ramian obviously on report for a shoulder charge. So we'll see what happens there, how blatant that is, if he's going to miss a week or not. It's probably just going to be a fine. But, you know, some of us may get our wish and see who gets there instead of Ramian. Probably be Vela, I suppose, since he's always on the extended bench. But could be a bit of difference next week.
Could be. Get it in the comments, guys. Let me know. Let us know what you think. Ramian, just let us know now. Yes or no. Y or N. Should we re-sign him? What's the status on Ramian? I thought he had a shocker, Franco. I really do. I thought
yes.
He had an absolute shocker. All right, let's go through a few more of these comments. Wall Rob says, so many silly mistakes time after time. Was it silly mistakes, Franco? I also just think what happens with that in that Penrith game is that they're so good at strangling you, as Dan Ganane says in the commentary, that you saw a couple of errors. You saw an uncharacteristic nick or a rake of the ball when he shouldn't have done that, similar to the one against the stupid rake that Trindle did against the Storm. The Sharks aren't good at keeping their composure when they're under pressure. And the Panthers are so good as the quality of their top guys. And so they get a little bit of a sniff of the opening. The Sharks look pretty good in the first 5 to 10 minutes before the Panthers scored. But the major turning point is when Cleary just kicks the 40-20. So whilst there are silly errors, it's just compounded by just the absolute sheer quality of the Panthers, Franco, which we don't seem to have.
Yeah, look, I'll expand on Rob's comment there where he says silly mistakes. And Rob, you can confirm in the comments, but I'm not entirely sure he means just drop balls and errors. I think he means actual mistakes, like playing dumb. We did a lot of dumb things in that game. And you're right, there could be elements of pressure from a faster team. Like we looked panicked when defending in our own half. We looked frustrated in attack. These are things obviously we didn't have against the Titans when we're sort of muscling over that team. I almost wonder if, and maybe we do this. I don't want to say we don't, but I almost wonder if, you know, in training, in opposed training sessions, we should play with a shortened defensive line, right? Have the opposition 5 meters out from us, so we've got less thinking time. We've got to play rushed. We've got to try and work out what we do, because I tell you what, we broke our plays and our structure broke down pretty quickly in that match.
Well, they just seem to struggle against the quality opposition. So I thought Trindle's kicking game, Franco, was excellent.
On point.
Really, really elite level kicking. But beyond that, like, it's not as if you see, like, remember that, what was it, the first try last week where you see them sweeping back line move and they've got guys moving around and stuff happening. And it's easy to do that against the Titans. They just don't seem to have the moves or any of this sort of thing moving against the Panthers. We
defaulted to old rhythms, crash play. If it wasn't a crash play, it was an inside ball. I was sick of seeing, you know, players lined up ready for something, and then the ball gets dropped on the inside again. It was very Noddy-esque. I was very upset at seeing that. I think while we were praising Trindle's kicking, I think it might be worth mentioning that it was also just one note. So it was just a very good bomb to the corner. or long kick, there wasn't much opportunity to be creative with the boot, I suppose. But you've got to try and make those opportunities and try and create something. And I think it was just, again, a product of being rushed or out of position when he's getting the ball to put the boot on, that we really didn't get many good attacking kicks. When given the opportunity, you saw it was pinpoint, it was on the spot. So yes, good kicking, but not quite what we needed tonight.
Speaking of consistent inside balls, let's bring in 2.0. Here he is. 2.0, your reaction to that performance?
Stock standard against Penrith. We just looked lost. We looked lost against Penrith, and you can see it. The speed at which Penrith attack, we don't have that. We're slow and predictable. The sweep plays that we use against the bad teams. I mean, I said it to my mates in my own group chat. I said, mate, Nico and Tricky and Kennedy can look world-class against the Titans all they want. When they come up against Cleary and that, they are third world country kind of standard. They're not that good. And it's got to change. I don't know. We've been doing the same attack for 3 years now, and it's getting ridiculous. Tricky's kicking game was great. Apart from that, he went from his best performance of his career possibly to non-existent. Nico his defense is really good again. However, once again, not doing much.
What else did he do other than do some tackles? 2.0.
Exactly. Well, what did any of them do? Like, that's the problem. Like, we just looked so great last week, and we're all, like, even myself, I was going, okay, if that's it, we attack with that speed. But then if you quickly think about it, the Titans looked like us tonight in defense. We were up slow, and we let them do what we want. Let the Panthers do what they want. And Cleary is the difference every time we play these guys. He is so.
He's just better than our top guy.
He's a surgeon. He's just like a surgeon. Like, that first 10 minutes, we gave it to him physically. We were up for it. I thought, oh, hang on, this is what I like.
Yeah, I thought so too. And then he just jags the 40-20.
Like methodical. And then they score. Jesse's dumb. I was about to swear then. Dumb penalties he gives away on those on the bombs and stuff like that. You can't do it. You can't touch him anymore. You can't even put a fingernail on him. Like, I didn't think the one against, who was it that touched Edwards? Was it Kailero that grazed his hip? That didn't stop him from catching the ball. However, that's the law. That's the law these days, right? You're not even allowed to touch him. Fair enough. So then Jesse goes back 5 minutes later and decides, he puts his arms out like he's going to give him a cuddle, or is he just saying, like, you can't touch me, can't get mad kind of thing? I don't know. Just get out the way and tackle him as soon as he catches it. It's just dumb, repetitive penalties from Jesse that's getting everyone annoyed. And as I said, he looked good last week. But we need something better. We need a game breaker that we do not have at the moment.
Oh, that's certainly true. What did you make of? Well, look, I did have one remark though, which was Katoa gets a try against the Panthers again and seems to get tries in big moments and big matches, and at least has a touch of quality about him. The wingers 2.0. We know you love Stone Street. Give us your commentary on Sione Katoa, and then you can go into Stone Street.
Sione's stock standard. You know what you're going to get from him. For his size, he does penetrate a lot through. He just puts his head through the line, and he can do his little shuffle and everything. But like any other winger in the comp, if you do not get good service from your inside players, you're not going to score many tries. And I think it was Kennedy that gave him the ball for the try. Apart from that, Kennedy was mostly unsighted as well. Like, our whole attack was dead tonight, apart from that one move. And as this Stone Street makes a break, and I'm upstairs trying to put my daughter to sleep. The one thing he's done in the first two games, and I'm upstairs.
Well, Dylan Edwards dealt with him pretty well, actually, in that moment. I thought Stone Street was away, and he pinned the ears back. And so,
I haven't seen it.
In comparing Dylan Edwards to Will Kennedy's not able to make that sort of tackle, that kind of body and all tackle and holding. No. He doesn't have it in him.
But what Shane I will say about Sam,
911 in the comments just says Kennedy was on the bongs again. Well, at least not you on the bongs this time, Shanby 911. Yeah, we're just not quite good enough, are we, Franco? No. Like, just across the board.
I mean, yeah, well, same old, same old. I think that one of the interesting things there was, we praised our forward last week, pretty much running riot. Jesse Calhoun was the only forward who made over 100 meters. Not even AFB made over 100 meters. So we were definitely out muscled in the middle of the field. We didn't really give our guys who were lambasting for not doing enough. We didn't really give them much space to play with, but you've got to expect that. You got to be ready for that when you're coming up against the best teams, right? So we need to work out what to do when we do come up against these guys, when we do have less space. Do we stand back deeper? Do we go wider? What do we do there? Because there were a few times where it looked to me like there was a gap, and instead of taking it on, Hines would again drop an inside ball or pass to someone who was already well marked, and it was just really quite frustrating. Now, I'm going to give everyone benefit of the doubt here. I thought the camera work was a bit odd. Maybe the positions of where the cameras were at that stadium, they couldn't quite get the right angles. You saw certain angles, the perspective was wrong. Like players were squashed on screen. The vision was zoomed.
Tonight, I thought.
Yeah, the vision was zoomed in, so you couldn't quite get the full picture. But yeah, it certainly at certain times it looked as though we were taking the poorer option when presented to us, and that's the thing that we've got to get right when you're up against the better teams.
AFB 2.0 has again not stood up in a big match against one of the big teams. I don't think he had a great final series. He's always good against the not so good teams, but we haven't seen him. I don't really remember, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, where he's just gone and AFB'd a team that was one of the top teams, just blowing them out of the water, like we saw Fafita and Gallen do a couple of times in their career. What's your commentary on AFB tonight?
Yeah, I think he was pretty much an indictment on the team as well. Like if you look at, I think he started well. I think they all started physically. I thought we were up for this massively, and then once they started, Penrith got some ball, everyone went missing. Like even he poked his nose through a few times, and the little skip he does is always going to get him yards. But yeah, I thought he was pretty quiet tonight. He hasn't really lived up to the money at the moment. Like, can he do it? Yes, but can we say Nico's lived up to the money either? Like our big money signings when we play against Cleary and guys like teams like Melbourne, we haven't stepped up consistently. We might be physically ready for it and might have had a good week at training, as they all say, but we haven't consistently troubled teams. Like we might do for 50 minutes and then they pull away in the last 30, like we did down in Melbourne last year. Penrith have had the wood on us since 2021 or something like that, 2020, whatever it's been. Yeah, we need more bang for the buck, so to speak, because he can do it against teams like the Titans or the Tigers or Cowboys or whoever. But we need to do it against these teams like the Roosters and the top four, like because we're not going to win a comp if we can't get on the front foot. And I think personally, I'll be starting Rudolph over Hazelton next week. A couple of errors there.
A bad game. He had a lot of errors.
A shocking error in the first 15, 20 minutes. So I'd be giving Toby the nod.
I actually think, though, they like the idea of having Toby Rudolph and Sia Sifatalakai come off the bench so they get that second input of energy and power, and they might actually be better off. But we've seen Tom be a strong bench player in the past. We'll circle back on that one, Franco. 2.0, we'll get you 3, 2, 1s before we let you get back to your family on your Saturday night and have a couple of beers.
Who have I got? 1 point. I'm going to give it to Sammy. I thought he ran hard all game. I think he actually improved his runs from inside R20. I think he took a lot more carries tonight and almost got the try. 2 points I'm going to give to Jesse Calhoun. I thought he was fantastic all game. Strong carries, strong tackles. And 3 points, it's got to be Blake Brayley. I think he's the only one that looked consistently dangerous tonight. As soon as he got jumped out of dummy half, he's the only one that looked like something was going to happen, whereas everyone else is kind of waiting around for him to do something. So they're my 3-2-1s, and if I could, I wouldn't give any of them, but you asked, so there it is.
Fair enough. All right, that was 2.0. Legend, mate, you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Don't worry, the
You too,
Sharks will be
guys.
back next week, mate.
Oh,
All right, see you, buddy.
We'll be optimistic next week.
Another
Of
second
course,
tier
we'll be
Queensland
optimistic by
team. Here we
about-
come.
We'll be winning the
by
grand
about
final again next
9:15
week.
p.m. on Tuesday night. We will be optimistic, guys. Don't worry. We'll be fine. All right, that was 2.0 joining in as he often does. If you would like to join the show, you can click on the link there in the comments. Just join the link, turn your camera on, or you can have your camera off. We love to hear from you guys and give your opinion and tell us where we're wrong or tell us where the sound doesn't work. And quite frankly, when I start the show and my sound doesn't work, we need other people to join the show, don't we, Franco? So that's just the way it goes. Let's go through with some more of these comments. WX 2001 says we just can't compete with the better teams. That's definitely consistent.
Yeah. Look, let's jump on that one just quickly because that has been the
rhetoric,
the rhetoric that the press have been pushing for the last few years now, almost since Fitzgibbon joined the Sharks. So about 4 years now, we've heard that, and it's almost self-fulfilling now, right? It's as soon as we lose a game to a top team, it's like we just can't beat the good teams. We can, we're just not doing it consistently. So I think sort of like we said in the previously, like before the match, we've just got to get everything right. You know, anyone can beat anyone on their day. And while that sounds cliche, we can. We're a good team. We just, for whatever reason, it's in our heads now, right? This comment of not being able to beat better teams. We think we need to lift. We think we need to try better. We don't really. If we just did what we did and did it well, we win, right? We're a good team.
The quality, Franco. The players just like Cleary's just better.
I don't
than
know
you
if
go.
it's
That's
quality or belief, right? Like there's a lot of players in our team that we're happy to have, right? Where there's you point at someone and they'll be well, there you go, right? So they've got to do what we need to get over these better teams. Yes, we need to beat them to win in September. And we have seen, right? We get shot down more often than not when we come up against these teams. And it's a shame. But we can beat them. We're not doing it often enough.
Well, Gigaplex in the comments says, Klein always refs this way. Nothing is going to change. The Sharks need to be better. They have for years now always shat the bed and make mistakes in crucial moments. It's like that does talk to just what you said just then, doesn't it, Gigaplex?
Mm-hmm.
I think the Sharks aren't good at dealing with Klein. He does ref a different way.
It's interesting. I will say,
when I see Klein on the referee sheet, Franco, I don't love it.
I don't think anyone does, to be honest. But I will say there was a lot of frustration that had crept into our squad tonight. We were hot under the collar, and we probably let it get to us a little bit. And I think that showed in our performance.
Shauno in the comments says, Klein allowed Penrith to hold us down at times for more than 3 seconds, allowed us to hold down for 1 to 2 seconds. Penrith used this to grind opponents and capitalize on there. I thought there were a lot of 6 again penalties for the Panthers, and they almost could have had a sin bin, Franco, at points in that game.
Yeah, I was wondering when or if a sin bin would come, because you're right, there were a lot, or at least it certainly felt that way, without having a chance to look at the stats or count them live. It felt like there were a lot, but you've got to just imagine that that's one of those things that it's the better teams do it. They know how long they can do it for and get away with it, and then they wind it back for just long enough to then have the ref forget and then go back to that, rinse and repeat. So yeah, it was certainly one of those things where we felt slow, we felt bogged down, and half of that was because of the way Penrith played.
Lynn in the comments backs that up. Pace was relentless, says Lynn. In the first half, brutal. They kept pace. 1 or 2 of those tricky to Tom passes lands, and we have a very different story. Yeah, that's true. But don't seem to deal with just those moments that go against them. The 40-20 goes against us, and then we immediately concede, or we make a mistake. We just can't deal with those moments where things just go against us.
Well, that 40-20, if I'm recalling, is right off the back of one of those errors, either a Tommy drop or the Burns no try.
It was after Billy Burns.
Yeah, so we play smarter. Like I said, Burns doesn't go over the try line there. He takes the tackle. We've got a set of 6 on their try line. I'm not going to say the game changes, but it does, right? Hypothetically, there's no 40-20, and we keep that intensity up for another 10, 15 minutes, and maybe they break.
Intensity was good at the start. Wall Rob 76 says the short crossover pass can be very, very good, but if it isn't working, we need to just put that move to rest. Too many drop balls from it tonight. Well, I think just that also speaks, Wall Rob 76, to the need for just a bit of diversity and a bit of, not just relying on one move, doesn't it, Franco?
Well, no, yes, absolutely. You're right there, Boldo. Need more diversity, but also it just feels as though when under pressure, it's a bit of muscle memory. That's the move we default to, right? So we're either under pressure or people aren't in the right spots, crash play, let's go. And it has its place, right? It's something where, you condense the defense and then you open up spots out wide. And, last year we were screaming for more crash plays because we had the 4 big boppers who are steamrolling players, just keep going down the middle.
Remember that used to work that works against the weaker teams, Franco. It doesn't work against the top teams.
Which is why, again, it comes back to that muscle memory, right? If you do it more often than not, when you're looking for something, that's what you default back to instead of trying something else that you've maybe practiced or training.
All right, guys, this is the Debrief, an ET Stand production podcast. We're live after full time of the Cronulla Sharks being beaten 26 points to 6. There's a whole bunch of you watching live. Only a couple of likes, though. So give us a couple of likes so that more people on YouTube can see us. There's a hype button as well you can give us, apparently. Haven't even found where that is, but if you're watching on YouTube, there's a way of hyping us to other people so that more of us get seen. The Debrief is brought to you by Solve Accounting for all of your business-to-business accounting and tax time needs. Link is in the description. Give Phil and Jono a call. They look after me. They can look after you in the same way. Let's go through some more of these comments. Pete Bissett, good to see you, Pete, in the comments, says, the gap between us and the top teams appears to be where it has been since 2024. I'd argue, Pete, it might actually be a little bit bigger now on that performance. So Sharks will be smarting after that one, Franco. I thought we'd close the gap a little bit, but coming back into this, maybe we're missing Ronaldo, maybe we're missing McInnes, maybe we're missing Teague. A couple of those players starts to add up. Where do you think we sit compared to the top teams? Are we closer than we were in the prelims from 2025?
No, I don't think we're closer. I don't know if we've fallen back though.
A little bit back.
Probably par the core. I think that the scary part of it is those top teams, and if we're talking the top teams, we're talking Melbourne, we're talking Penrith. Theoretically, they're the top 2. Theoretically, you might want to throw in the Broncos since they won last year, but really it's Penrith and Melbourne. Penrith and Melbourne have had a fair bit of player turnover over the last couple of years and are still dominating, whereas we've had stability, we've had the same players, we've had opportunities to be well drilled, and they've got young outside backs or different outside backs or young props coming on, and we're pretty much the same team. A little bit of tinkering here and there, same guys. Jack William drops off and we get AFB, or Stone Street comes in for Mulatalo, but ultimately the same core group, and we at this stage we can't seem to find that next level, and that's missing.
Frustrating. Yeah, you're all excited. You sit down, you order your pizza, you burn your mouth. You might notice I got a cut on my lip. I burnt my mouth on the pizza. You're all excited to sit down, watch the Sharks take on the Panthers. And as WRX says, when Cleary got the 40-20, it was all over. And it's just heartbreaking, isn't it, Franco? Let's go through some more of these. Gigaplex says in the comments, get Ramian out of there. He stinks in big games. Lynn Gannon says, no, don't re-sign. Ramian, get him out of there. Shauno in the comments says, in all seriousness, even if we had beaten Penrith tonight, I still think the media wouldn't be praising us. They'd be looking for reasons why Penrith lost. The narrative with us never changes. Yeah, it's I don't know. There's something I'm a bit dejected tonight, Franco, this pod. I think the narrative's a little bit it's different in that it is the same, and you're like, oh goodness me.
Well, I think that's why I sort of brought it up when it was touched on by one of the other commenters about 10 minutes ago, right? We can beat these good teams, and that narrative had kind of started to shift at the end of last season. It was like, oh, look, the Sharks can beat top sides. That's really good. They're just not doing it often enough. Now they need to do it more. And unfortunately, a loss like this will just push us back into they can't beat top sides. If we'd have won, I agree, they probably would have, looked for an excuse as to why the Panthers lost as opposed to why we won. But in that same double-edged sword scenario, that we would have moved a step away from can't beat good teams, and it would have continued to be we need to beat these teams more often. So yeah, it is a shame that we lost, and it is a shame that now we'll be in the press again that we can't beat these teams.
Glenn Thompson in the comments says they hung in there for a long time at 6-0 with silly areas. They did well to hold tight. We just need to learn more from these lessons. They did hang in there a little bit tight, and then they had the third try for the Panthers to go 18-0. Just Toby Rudolph just switched off after that kind of moment where the ball came loose, and it maybe could have been ruled a knock on, but wasn't a knock on. And they just switched off, didn't they? So
that was the Burns strip, right? And basically everyone just stood around and did nothing. And Cleary got the offload, and all they had to do was put a hand on the player on the ground, and it would constitute a tackle. And he can't pass anymore. Dead play, right? And they just stood there and waited. That was really poor.
That was frustrating.
It really showed a lack of urgency, and I think that's sort of, I guess, end of the game. Only a couple of seconds left, really, before that half was over. Maybe fatigue, but really, you got to be on that.
You do have to be on that. I thought the first try to the Panthers, there was nothing Stone Street could do. It was just To'o's. He's a good winger, To'o.
He is, but we were very condensed this match.
Yeah, they just stretched
were,
us, and then
we were well inside. We were sort of, Stone Street was 2 men in almost, so we had a lot of ground to cover. The other try on the other side, again, we were sort of almost 2 men in, although I think that was Ramian rushing out and sort of creating that overlap there. At times, I think Nikora was defending almost in the middle of the field, so it was.
I think he came in to give the forwards a bit of a rest. I noticed that's what I thought he was doing when he came into the middle.
It certainly showed that we were out-muscled in this game. Let's just put it that way. If we needed to be that compressed, if we needed Nikora to come in and give them a rest, if those things were happening, then we were getting bullied. Our engine room was tired. It wasn't a good look.
Shanby 911 in the comments says Nico got peppered with defense. He did make a lot of tackles. I've got in my notes, hardly in it. Good tackle on Edwards that was 1-on-1. Franco, what can Nico do if the game's going the way that it was and Trindle's doing the kicking and kicking pretty well? How does Nico get involved?
Well, look, we were talking about this through the All-Stars second trial match last week. He ran the ball well. and often. And tonight he didn't. As I mentioned earlier, I think it was when 2.0 was on the call. There were opportunities for him to run, and he sort of passed the ball off. And he should have just ran. He just should have taken the line on to, might not have got anywhere, but it just gives the defense that second thought for when he's got the ball in hand next time, right? It sort of gives them pause for thought of what might happen. We saw really late on after the game was well gone, he took the line on and made a half break. He just needed to do that more often. And he might have been buggered from all the tackles and whatnot. But let's be real, he's a footy player. He does a lot of tackling each week. He gets targeted. He's in the halves. He's important to the team, and players know that. He only made 32 tackles. I say only. I mean, that is a lot, but
32 is a
that's
lot.
kind of average for him, though. He's up there in the tackle count most weeks. So, I think he just needed to take the line on a bit more.
No, 32 seems a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, anything around that 35 to 40 range is sort of the top of the tackle counts. So it's up there, but still, Brayley, typical Brayley, he's up there, 42.
Nickera made 48 tackles.
Yeah. Colhoun 40.
Nickera was coming in to help them in the middle, Franco. That's what he's doing.
So anyway, that's what Nico needed to do. He just needed to take the line on a bit more, because look, Brayley was the only one really that made it look as though we were doing something or trying something. A dart out of dummy half to 40-20, snatch a 6 again. The kick, right? The kick from dummy half. We spoke about that actually on Tuesday night. We're like, do we want Brayley to kick more? And he did. He went for the 40-20, just missed out unfortunately. And then later on, he did a grubber kick for repeat set. So he was definitely trying stuff. And I didn't get that same impression from the halves. They just seemed to be robotic and going through the motions.
Shark JD in the comments says 3 words: trying too hard. At the end, when the Sharks got under pressure and they make stupid things like Nickera trying to rake the ball out, or Hohepa Peru looking up at the line, those were certainly stupid mistakes. Shauno says Brayley plays a lot like McInnes in the fact that he will always put himself on the line for the club. If he nails that 40-20, I think the game could have turned. I hope he keeps that up. I'll just respond to that. If he nails the 40-20, that's the difference between the Sharks and the Panthers, is that the key guys for the Panthers can just do something or turn something or find a way. And Cleary, he's just a bit better than our guys. Shark JD in the comments says, drop Ramian if he isn't suspended and drop Tom into the bench. It wouldn't surprise me if both of those changes happened, Franco. And then Shark JC also says, let's stop with the hospital passes again. Trying too hard. More poor Ramian. Send Ramian to Papua New Guinea. Kevin Coyle on the Facebook says, we just can't handle when teams rush up on us in defense. Our attack turns to crap. Yeah, that's right, Kevin. We just can't handle it when the teams are a bit better and put us under a bit more pressure and our forwards aren't quaking quite as many meetings. That's right. Shanby in the comments says 2.0 Kennedy thoughts. I purposely didn't ask him that too much, Shanby, because he would have just hammered him. And then Sonia quickly in the comments. We started fantabulously. Then we went retro Sharks. Goat Street was my hero. Goat Street certainly ran harder.
Yeah, but again, he doesn't have that same punch in the middle the way Mulatalo has. And, I think also defensively, he gets brushed off a bit more. There seems to be a lot more need for cover defense coming around to help him out there, because he slows down the defense, but it doesn't seem to be hit and stick the way Mulatalo would as well. So there is a bit to work on his game, but look, he's got the raw pace, and I've been calling for that for a long time. So I'm happy to see a half break turn into an actual break. And it was, even though he didn't get past Edwards, it was good to see him streaking down the side of the field there.
Now, Shauno in the comments picks out what I said, which was how many consecutive set restarts constitutes a sin bin. Don't know, mate. I don't know. But it felt a bit tough on the Sharkies. They were certainly doing. Seems like Penrith had a lot of back-to-back and then a pause and did it again. That's definitely true. Kevin Coyle confirms for us in the comments that AFB was poor. I don't know if he was poor, Franco. He just wasn't brilliant.
He was. I sort of mentioned it again. He was frustrated. So there was a lot of times where he either got the ball where he wasn't expecting it or didn't get the ball when he was expecting it. It was just very disjointed, and you could tell he was frustrated with that match and what happened there. So, yeah, it wasn't a good game by anyone in our team, and that's reflected there by his performance as well. But yeah, certainly operating on a different page to where the halves thought he was.
Sonia Quigley points out that Sam is on a high as he's bagged himself a mermaid. Go Goat Street. They're a cute little couple, aren't they? All right, let's go through this WRX comment. I don't think I agree with this one. A new coach is needed. I don't think the coach change is going to be the thing that's going to change it for us, guys. I think Fitzgibbon actually gets absolutely everything he can out of this team, Franco. I think just based on what we've got and the cattle that we've got and the fact that we keep getting in and around the top four and making it to prelim finals, I think Fitzgibbon's pretty good, actually. I'll back you, Fitzgibbon. Sure enough, it's frustrating, some of those mistakes and the things that you do, but it's pretty hard. Things could be a lot worse, Todd Payton.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it in our wrap-up last year when we were sort of going through the coach and what we could change to take that next step. I don't think a new coach is in order, but I mentioned I wouldn't be rushing to re-sign him. So there was a couple of people that was like, oh, let's re-sign him now. Let's get it, keep that stability going. Look, if he's all in on the Sharks and he keeps doing his best for us, then he'll get re-signed when the time's right. I wouldn't be jumping ahead to try and stop someone from poaching him from us or something like that. I think he's doing well by us, and just see how it goes, see how it plays out. I don't think he's the problem, though. I agree. We obviously haven't got forget his name, the French coach that helped Nico.
Freddie Michalak.
Yeah, so I don't think he's with us yet. I think he comes sort of mid-season, so we're technically a coach down. I don't know if he's supposed to be the official Hannay replacement or if we're still looking for someone else. And he's just a specialist coach. So, it'd be nice to get a bit of clarity around that and see if we can get a bit more help in and around the coaching structure. But yeah, no, I think Fitzgibbon does more than just the players on the field. That might not be enough for some, but he certainly lifts the club up as a whole.
I would agree with that. Then WRX backs that up with Penrith are going to win it this year. All right, well, if Penrith are going to win it, we lost 26 points to 6 to the Panthers, which funnily enough, 2 years ago was a similar score to what we actually lost to them in that prelim. Wasn't it, Franco? I think it was 26 points to 6. What was the score in that prelim? Can someone put that in the comments, or Franco's going to go look that up? So let's look at it like this. If the Panthers are the top team, which it possible that they are, or it is the Storm, then look, we did certainly take it to them at the start of the match. And if Ramian finds a way to get that offload before, the first thing, or Cleary doesn't kick the 40-20, or we don't cop the tough things by Klein, then I think a couple of things go away, then maybe we can beat the Panthers. So what that leads me to the conclusion, Franco, is that, was it 26 points to 6?
Spot on, mate.
There you
yep.
go. Spot on. So basically we're exactly where we were 2 seasons ago against the Panthers, looking at that again. So what does that tell us? It means that if we play the Panthers in a prelim, we could maybe expect to win twice out of 10 matches. We need things to go away. Now, there are some teams that wouldn't be able to beat the Panthers at all. So maybe it's not all doom and gloom. All right. User Scooter says, think the wrong game plan, turn up. Think the wrong game plan. Turn back inside with Penrith, all turn up. Franco, the game plan, what should we do then?
Oh gosh. Look, obviously, don't drop the ball is the starter. Let's try and have a bit of better ball security. But we need to be playing at speed. There were times tonight where we were standing still, passing the ball, running, passing to another person standing still. We need to be constantly in motion. The Panthers never stop running. They're always moving, whether in attack or defense. And if you're standing still, by the time you catch the ball, they're going to be in your face. So we need to be moving. We need to be playing with options so that they've got questions in their mind about who to mark up on, who to tackle. They can't gang tackle if they're worried about the ball going out the back or going wide or a grubber through the behind their legs. You've just got to keep them guessing. And at the moment, we're too predictable, too structured, and too slow.
Which actually, ironically enough, is what Blocker Roach said in the commentary. If you're going to beat the Panthers, you have to play some footy. And whilst I may not love Blocker Roach and Ganane as the commentary duo, in fact, they may be my two least favourite commentators. I thought they were certainly. They've got to have a crack like that. You can kind of die wondering against the Panthers. All right, let's go through some more of these comments. There is a lot of them. Get your opinions in on the match. Give us your 3, 2, 1s. What did you make of the Sharks' performance tonight? Is there anything you would like us to talk about? Please do get us in the comments. You guys shape the show. So not Franco and me. We don't really set it out. No, we're going to talk about this. The Tuesday night show, we've got a full run sheet, and we talk about what we want to talk about. But the debrief is just you guys. We just respond to whatever you guys say. So get it in the comments, and we will talk about those subjects. Indeed, even the one that's 3 down, I can see I will deliver on that request. All right, Shark JD says, not a huge fan of Stoney, but he was my man of the match tonight. Going to keep thinking about my man of the match. Who's your man of the match? Who do you think? Get it in the comments. Wall Rob says, yeah, agree with your definition of silly mistakes, Franco. Yeah, that's probably brilliant. Right. WRX says, Hazelton had a shocker. Yeah, he had a bad game. Bad game. All right, Hosea XCI in the comments says, what's up, Boldo? Can I get up the wires? You don't have to do it if you don't feel like it. Hope you're well. Hosea, I am okay. Thank you for asking. And I will say up the wires. Good for you, Warriors fans. We like the Warriors, guys. They seem to have started the season well. Shark JD in the comments says, both things are true. They're better than us, but we also handled the game with individual stupidity. Yeah, that's true. And then Adelmo says 26-6, same score in Katoa, same try scorer as the prelim final in 2024. Just going to say this. I reckon Sione Katoa is good at scoring tries in big matches and in big games and against difficult teams, which is actually a really, really, really important skill. It's a shame he's not eligible for State of Origin, is he, Franco? Because he's quality player.
Katoa? No, he's not, unfortunately.
He's not. He's not eligible yet, but in a couple of years, they might change the rules again. Oh, goodness me.
I think it's worth...
Yep.
I think it's worth now, totally off just a new thread pull to let people mull over and maybe comment on. I know Ramian's getting a lot of hate tonight, but I got to say, Kale Iro was a little bit off as well. Yeah, he ran hard, but he always runs hard. Problem is, we know he doesn't have a good passing game, and there was a couple of opportunities tonight where he maybe could have given it to Stone Street a bit early, and maybe that would eventuate in something different. And I don't know if it's he wanted to and thought about it, but was a bit unsure of the Penrith defense rushing up on him. But there were a couple of times where he sort of stuttered and stopped and then started his run. And if he was just single-minded and just ran at the line, there was a couple of times tonight where I reckon he gets to the trial line instead of sort of second-guessing himself, trying to work out if he should pass or if he should run, and then really doing neither. And I think he needs to sort of get that. Like last year, there were times where I was like, pass the ball, and he would just run. Now I'm like, well, just run if you're not going to pass the ball. So he's just got to get that
Phil
back.
Bailey's back as the centers coach of the Sharks. Franco just never passes the damn ball.
Never passes the ball. Stoney out there catching a cold. So yeah, look, it's one of those things where
I actually like Kale Iro when in that one match where he played wing for 12 minutes with Talakai in the centres. He looked absolutely brilliant because he didn't have to worry about passing Talakai because he was on the end of the good hands.
Well, you know what I'm going to say about that? He had Talakai inside him, feeding him tries on a silver platter.
Well, yeah, he looked brilliant for 12 minutes. And then we've never seen that again. But look, Kaeliro certainly is a centre. Look, I don't think
yeah, he's great. And look,
we weren't losing because of Kaeliro, Franco.
No, we
weren't winning. But we weren't winning because of Kaeliro doing something brilliant. That's your point.
Yeah, correct. Like, it's just, we're talking about quality opposition, and you off the top of the thing said they're better than us. And this is, we've got to look at ways of improving the team. And this is one of those spots where, just because he's running hard and tackling hard, there is room for improvement. And this is not to forget that he's only 2 full seasons in to his first grade career. So he's got room for improvement there. But also, as I mentioned, the Panthers have a bunch of young kids. Melbourne have a bunch of young kids. Passing should be, draw and pass should be something that you're ready to go with in first grade. So I think it's something he needs to work on.
Doing all the time. Here we go. We've got a Benjamin Turner. It's become a member. Benny Turner, you absolute legend. Thanks for becoming a member. You can become a member of the ET Stand podcast, which does give you early access to the backlog of Sharks matches that we're uploading. This week we uploaded a 2001 Sharks versus Panthers classic, and it's the match where David Peachy does that full length of the field one where you think he's going to get tackled and then he doesn't get tackled, and then you think, oh, he's blown this, and then he gets free again, and then he somehow gets free, and then he runs from one side to the other and he ends up scoring. So that is an absolutely brilliant match that you can go back and watch. Let's keep going through these comments. Now, Franco, I can confirm that the Sharks have moved to 0-3 on the Captain's Challenge. Shorto asking us, how is the Captain's Challenge call not successful? Katoa catches it and then Jenkins pushes it out forward. Is that not a knock-on? It was one of those 50-50 ones that you frequently don't lose, but there was actually one a couple of minutes later that I wish they still had the challenge for, but didn't. Franco, 0-3 on the Captain's Challenges. Give us a prediction. How long does it go until we're successful?
Oh, look, that's like framing a sports bet. If I say something, we're going to win next week. So yeah, it's going to take us another 3 weeks before we get a Captain's Challenge right. I will back up that comment though. I don't know how that wasn't a successful challenge, because he catches that and then it's knocked out of his hand. There might have been a little bit of simultaneous stuff,
yeah, that was
but
tough.
He hasn't lost control of that ball. So you can't say that he touches it first and then it touches a Penrith player. He's touching it because he's catching it and it's in his hands, and then it's punched out.
The other guy knocked it out.
Yeah, I was, and it was only one look, one angle.
Unconscious bias towards the Panthers, Franco. That's the problem.
Yeah, is Dan Ganane doing the bunker as well, is he? Gosh.
Yeah, Dan Ganane. I'm sure it's Dan Ganane's fault. It always is.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Always is. All right, David Sheens, 1227 in the comments says, Hine was seen directly behind the ruck on multiple occasions and not touching the ball at all in critical sets within the Panthers' red zone. What is he doing? Yeah, we called that out earlier in the show, David. He just went missing in this game, didn't he? G'day to you, Mike Knight. Good to see you in the comments. Chris Kelly asks, was Talakai just winded or something serious? Was down on his haunches, not looking good. I think he was just knackered, Chris. But if anyone was at the game and is watching or coming home and saw Talakai off on the bench or how he was feeling, do please let us know. I think he was just gassed, Franco.
Yeah, he didn't get many minutes, only 21 minutes, and he did come off after heavy contact, so he could have been winded. I don't think he was gassed. I think he was just winded and maybe a bit frustrated at himself.
They also made the first round of changes late, so in cutting him down to 21 minutes, they left. They made the first sets of interchanges. I remember at the 25-minute mark. I remember thinking, oh, it's taken him a while to do that. So.
Yeah, but he came on. He was in the first round of changes, so
he was in the first round of the changes. Yeah. User Scooter in the comments. G'day, User Scooter. Top 2 teams have great coaches that change their game plan for the teams they play. We don't change our same old game plan, so predictable.
I would argue that I'm not sure we have a game plan.
Just go run hard, tackle hard. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, I was listening to the halftime commentators and they were like, yeah, Coach Sharks Fitzgibbons said, yeah, just be better at defense and stop making mistakes. I'm like, basically, if that's what he said, then he could basically, did you even go in at halftime at all? Like, did they say anything? Or do they just tell you absolute rubbish? So that is just basically just said nothing. I was like, oh, just make sure you keep breathing and catch the ball when it's passed to you and tackle your opponent. Like, come on. Anyway, what could you say? Scotty Brahini says, we're a defense-orientated side. I just don't think it matches up well against Penrith. We lack the guys that can create something when nothing's on. That is 100% true.
Yep.
That's 100% true, Scotty. Maybe you should click on the link, Scotty, and join the show.
We've been talking about that for a little while, haven't we? We need it, and I'm not gonna throw out the X factor scenario, although that'll certainly be what I'm talking about. But it's one of those things where we do have a lot of run hard, hit hard players. We don't have a lot of people who play off the cuff, and I think that's missing.
One disciple, Michael, in the comments says, did we play bad? No, we are just not good enough. Yeah.
No, there was a period we played bad. There was a period. There was one moment there where I thought, and I'm glad we rallied and sort of came back.
We did rally a little bit. They could have been bad.
I thought we were going to get 50 put on us at one stage. It was looking a bit scary. And look, when I say we played bad, we played dumb. We just played dumb at times. There was not a lot of thought in what we were doing. We were doing a lot of stuff repetitively that wasn't working. Out of position. People talking about Ramian, trying to take out escorting in the bombs. Even Trindle got pinged for one as well. There was just a lot of dumb stuff that we did that we should be smarter about and try and get ourselves on the front foot.
WRX in the comments says the halves need protecting. They certainly need something. Shane Hanby asks, rumours Sherry is on the market. No. Would you take him back without the juice? No, I don't want Sherry. Franco, no. Nah.
I think I read that rumour was shut down by Gould, but also,
there we go.
Not for me.
Adelmo says, Zerian does have denied it. No one knows where media got it from, apparently. Rob Wall asks us, if you could shuffle the pack, who would you move where?
It's a good question, Rob. Look, I think we've touched on maybe demoting Hazelton from the starting side. I do think he's a good starter, but there's got to be a little bit of accountability, and he didn't have a good game tonight. A lot of drop ball. Maybe the occasion got the better of him. So yeah, I agree. I would start Kaufusi.
Also because I think Kaufusi doesn't give us as much like, oh, look, Kaufusi's on. Whereas when Tom comes off the bench and Toby Rudolph and Talakai come off the bench, sometimes they're really noticeable for impact. So therefore, it's like Adam Ritson, Nathan Long, 1996. Oh, yeah, the interchange guys are on. Here we go here. Whereas we don't seem to get that from Kaufusi where we do with Tom Hazelton. And he wasn't.
Kaufusi is a solid 1%er. He's going to do his job, perform his role. But at the same time, look, let's lump that question in with one of the previous commenters who said, the good coaches have a different game plan for different teams. So who's to say that should be the same starting prop rotation every game, right? Under certain scenarios, maybe Rudolph is the best starter with
maybe they play start Hohepa Peru.
Maybe, right? Maybe Colhoun in the front row with Peru at lock or Talakai at lock. So, why does it have to be that same? Use it as an incentive to play hard at training, right? So, you do well, you might get a starting gig.
Yeah, there's certainly no unpredictability with that. Well, Rob, but to answer your question on how would you shuffle the pack, I'd actually ask all of them, and I'd be working. If I was GM of the Sharks, I'd be working on all of them to just take less money. And say, hey guys, if you take less money, we can sign Mitch Barnett. So just we'll be better next year. So you might miss the 50 grand in 10 years' time, but you'll be pleased that we won a premiership. One disciple, Michael, says, I'd love win net. Not sure what that's in reference to. 18 points to Mr. Sheen, says Benny Turner. Panthers dropped the ball. Don't know what that's. Oh, yeah, they did drop the ball, then score. Yeah, you're right, Benny. You are 100% right. Frankie Fresh in the comments says, it's been great having such a consistent team for 5 years. I feel like we've gotten to know and love the group of players, but after tonight, I'll admit we look like we need a bit of a player refresh. Yeah, it'd just be sad. I'd love to win with this team, Frankie. I really would. And so after having spent so much time with them and, you interview them and you see them down at Cronulla Beach and you're chatting to Nico and all these guys, you're like, you really do want them to win. And then you're like, well, do we want to be a heartless club that moves their players on, Franco, or do we want to win with our guys?
You as a fan, as someone who is an onlooker, you think of that, and then you think about what it's like to be in the coach's box, and you've got an even better rapport with them, and having to tell people to move on. Obviously, results impact your job security, so you'd maybe have a bit more of a critical eye, but it's hard to move players on, right? Especially if you've got that rapport with them. I do think that we are seeing that sort of changing of the guard this year, right?
It's coming.
It's coming because, and we don't know by how much, but the last few years and this isn't the first time we've had half our squad off contract. This is about the third time, I think. Maybe second. Maybe I'm over exaggerating, but it's happened a couple of times. And each time everyone's come out and they're like, we really want to keep the group together. We really want to stay together. We're going to get this done. We might take less, as Bolo just mentioned. We're going to do what we can to stay. And this guy's been signed, but no, he's backflipped. He's coming back to the Sharks because he loves the Sharks and we're building something special. Haven't heard any of that this time round. We've just heard it's the last dance. This is our last chance to get it done with this group. So I think everyone knows that let's play because we're not going to be together next year.
All right. Benny Turner in the comments says, oh my God, the commentators do my head in. Dan is the worst. When I talk to my friends that support other teams, right, they don't get it that Dan Ganane sucks. I'm like, no, Dan Ganane sucks. But the Sharks, we just go, he's the worst. And now that he was commentating the Alex Johnson match, we have to hear that 1,000 times. Oh, goodness me.
Oh,
he's not the record for starters, guys. Alex Johnson is not the record rugby league try scorer. Brian Bevan is. But anyway, go on, Franco.
I mean, he gave Kennedy a hard time for bumping To'o on the head for his first try. And, they're going to look at that. What happened there? That doesn't look good. And it was a brush. And then Katoa gets absolutely poleaxed and his jaw taken out. And Ganane's like, did he get a bit winded there by landing on the ball or something? It's like, come on, mate. You one-eyed bloody.
Ganane.
He's terrible. He's
Ganane
so bad.
Is the worst. We got to do a viral something on him just to say he's the worst. Anyway, let's go through. Lynn's given us her 3-2-1. So she says 1 for Burns, 2 for Kennedy, and 3 for Brayley. She's corrected herself, not Bradley. And then Disciple Michael confirms and says, Lynn said it. It must be true. I'll get your 3-2-1s in a second. Shark JD says, in 2 years' time, you'll qualify the Blues if you ever had blue as a favourite colour. Probably right. Kale on the right, switching sides of the field, Franco, says Rob Wall.
No, I don't see that happening. I'm trying to remember where he played in the lower grades because I do remember there was a scenario of him having to swap sides at one point. But
yeah, that rings a bell.
That won't happen until Ramian goes because Ramian can't play on the left. So yeah, look, there's going to be changes there. How that happens and what happens there is yet to be seen. But as it stands, I think Ramian's got a mortgage on that spot.
All right. Benny Turner then says, I could rage all night with some of those ref calls. Well, lucky I was on mute at the start of the show and didn't have my microphone working, Benny, because, yep. Yeah, I wasn't happy with Klein. And then lastly, Delmo says in the comments, Fitzy's game plan is like Homer Simpson when he tried to coach Bart's football team and tells Nelson to spin around in a circle. I thought that whole strategy in his football team was to just throw it to Nelson. He just ran through. When Nelson is holding up whoever the quarterback is, I think it's Bart or someone who's just like running through them and making them tackle them. All right, Franco, give us your 3, 2, 1 as we look to wrap this show up. It's been a longer show. It always is when the Sharkies lose.
Yeah, before I do, I've got a bit of a funny story to tell. Bit of a hot, muggy day. Obviously, you saw all the players struggling in the heat there a little bit at Bathurst. Yeah. Got the windows open, got a few crickets chirping outside, and there was this one loud bugger there that every now and then he'd let out this shrill call, this chirp that just almost pierced the ears. And every time he'd let it go, I thought it was the bloody Klein blowing the whistle. And I was like, what was that for? What are you doing, ref? And I was like, oh, it's that bloody cricket.
Phantom ref.
The phantom whistle was in my backyard. So yeah, it's definitely one of those scenarios that I had to be aware of. So make sure that I didn't, berate the ref too hard tonight, because half of the bad calls were from a cricket outside. Look, my 3, 2, 1s, I think it's pretty obvious that Brayley gets the 3 points. He didn't stop trying. I thought, like I said earlier, anything that looked like sparking something came from his actions. So that was really good. My 2 points, probably going to give them to Calhoun. He didn't look like he did anything spectacular. Might have been a bit of a quiet achiever there, but he broke 100 meters. He tackled hard, 40 tackles, I think it was. So from a stats perspective, he was in everything. One of the things I like about Calhoun, and this might be one of the reasons why the coaches signed him long term, is he is a 1%er. He does dive on the ball. He does try to make up for mistakes. He does chase things, and you could see that tonight as well. And so yeah, he gets my 2 points. And then the one, oh geez, I don't know if anyone deserves 1 point outside of those guys. I'll give it to Katoa for scoring the try.
All right, yeah, that's probably a fair assessment on 3, 2, 1. I'm not going to award one, Franco. Yeah, whatever. I thought Hohepa looked good when he came on. Good for you. I'll give you 3. I'll give you the encouragement McDonald's award for looking.
He looked great, but he wasn't on for very long.
Yeah.
So need to see more of that.
Benny Turner reminds us that AJ went to Endeavour High and maybe he could have been a Shark, but I don't know. Kevin's in the comments says, I'm getting tired of Nikora. Could he do with a position change, possibly to centre to replace Ramian Noodles? Maybe.
Well, we've spoken about...
We saw Chris McKenna and Phil Bailey switch to centre later in their careers, didn't we? And Pomeroy was often touted as a second rower. If we think our second rowers are quite good with Burns and Teague, we could maybe accommodate Nikora in the centres, Franco?
We do have Teague coming back. So, yeah, someone could shift to the centres, whether it be Nikora or Burns. But look, I think Talakai, don't get me started. Look, I think tonight was indicative of us discussing how disjointed we were, and out of position, because again, similar to AFB, there were times where Nikora was running that classic Nikora line and it never got the ball, or times when he was not in position or not running the right line and he'd end up with the ball in his hands, or it'd go to Ramian to run that line. So whether or not that's something that they've, I don't know, tinkered with to try and change it up so defense is guessing, it just looked to be a shambles. I don't think they've got whatever they're trying to do there locked down yet, because Nikora was all sorts in trying to do something, manufacture something, but he just either never had the ball or was not in the right spot, or it went to Rami instead. It was just oddballs out there.
All right, Franco, 26 points to 6. Sharks beaten by the Panthers. Back to the drawing board. It was an important match, this one, in terms of us being able to qualify as the minor premiers. I don't think we can win this competition without being minor premiers and having a Sydney grand final, or a Sydney prelim, rather. So it just makes it a little bit harder. Panthers are going to be tough to beat, Franco. It's my key conclusion at the end. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Any last comments from you, Franco?
No, mate. Look, let's see what happens. We know we've got the Dolphins next week. We should beat them. But let's not forget this round. Let's not forget the game against the Panthers, because even if we put 40 points on the Dolphins, we need to work out how to put points on the Panthers.
Panthers,
so that's the goal.
It's going to be one of those all is forgiven next week when the Sharks beat the Dolphins by 20 points, isn't it? Mm-hmm. All right, Sharks fans, that was the debrief by the ET stand. Says the Sharks lose 26 points to 6. We will be back on Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. All of the regulars. I've got a special guest host this week too. Other than that, do get involved in the Discord channel. If you want to chat to characters such as Franco and myself live during the game, we're in on the Discord channel. Do follow us on Instagram if you want to follow us at the matches and see what we carry on. Do become a member as well if you want to get access to the early stuff. We've got a few things going on, and if you want to sponsor the ET stand, you can. So I'm going to announce the sponsors this week for the rest of the season. A couple of more have confirmed, so that'll be good to get. Good to just get a bit of support for us, Franco, and basically pay for all the tech and all the stuff that I have to pay for. I don't make any money off the damn ET stand, Franco. I just paying the Sharks, really. But anyway.
Passion, mate. Passion. You love it.
Exactly. All right, guys, that was the ET stand. We'll see you guys 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday night. Chin up. We'll go again on Tuesday. Up Cronulla.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.